5,000 years ago, in Mesopotamia, a clay tablet recorded a debt, 1 shekel of silver. A scribe in ancient Mesopotamia pressed a reed stylus into a wet clay tablet. They were a record of debt, a simple ledger, noting that someone owed a specific weight of silver. Centuries before coined money, human societies used barter, direct exchange of goods and services. Fast forward to today, 2025. In the time it took you to read that sentence, trillions of dollars have moved across the globe. They moved as ephemeral pulses of light through fiber optic cables, as bits of data bouncing between satellites and servers. It is a ledger, just one written in a language of algorithms instead of cuneiform. How did we go from clay tablets to quantum money? In this video, you will see the true evolution of money, with dates, rivals, collapses, and revolutions, and understand where we are heading in 2025. Long before the glint of a minted coin caught a merchant's eye, human societies relied on a far more direct system of exchange: barter. If you were a farmer with a surplus of grain and needed a new pot, you had to find a potter who happened to be hungry for grain. This system, known as the double coincidence of wants, is incredibly inefficient. Imagine trying to build a city or provision an army through simple barter. The logistical nightmare would be insurmountable. This necessity gave rise to proto-money: cowrie shells, salt, cattle, grain, even the great rye stones of Yap. The most important forms of proto-money, however, were metals: gold, silver, copper. Durable, divisible, portable, and scarce. As early as 3000 BC in Mesopotamia, scribes recorded debts in shekels of silver, a specific weight creating a system of credit. You could sell your grain for a recognized weight of silver and then use that silver to buy a pot from anyone, at any time. This was a monumental cognitive leap. It introduced abstract value that could be stored, transported, and universally understood. Proto-money laid the groundwork for the next revolution: state-backed coinage. The age of coinage was about to begin. When a merchant received a lump of gold or silver, they had to weigh it and test its purity, a small ritual that slowed commerce. Around 600 BC in Lydia, rulers stamped electrum lumps with official seals, often a lion, guaranteeing weight and purity. Coinage spread rapidly. Greek city-states adopted and refined it, minting drachmas and other standards. Athens, fueled by Laurian silver, minted drachmas stamped with the owl of Athena, trusted across the Mediterranean. Transaction costs fell and trade velocity exploded. Coins became the lubricant of long-distance commerce. Coinage made it easier to tax, pay soldiers, and fund public works, binding currency to state power. But where the state guarantees coins, it can also betray that guarantee. Rulers learned to secretly reduce precious metal content, debasement, stretching budgets at the expense of trust. Monetary fraud became a recurring signal of states in financial distress. So that's a warning, you know. No empire mastered the art and science of coinage quite like Rome. The silver denarius, introduced in the 3rd century BC, became the workhorse of the Mediterranean economy. From Britain to Mesopotamia, Roman coins flowed, binding provinces into a single monetary space. Each coin was a miniature billboard, stamped with the emperor's portrait and symbols of victory and civic virtue. Mines in Spain, Britain, and the Balkans supplied metal to imperial mints that struck billions of coins. This metal was transformed into auri, denarii, sestertii that flowed throughout the empire. Starting with Emperor Nero, emperors resorted to debasement. The silver content of the denarius was gradually reduced, replaced with cheaper copper. People hoarded older, purer coins. Inflation rose. By the 3rd century AD, the monetary system was in crisis. Trust evaporated and trade withered. In China during the Tang Dynasty, the economy was booming. Trade along the Silk Road and coastal routes flourished. Merchants hauling heavy strings of coins were vulnerable to bandits and slowed in trade. Merchants deposited coins with trusted agents who issued paper certificates of deposit, called flying money or fiqian. By the 11th century, the Song government issued state-backed paper money, the jiaozi, in Sichuan around 1020 AD. Initially, notes were backed by coin reserves and printing was limited. Facing wars and costs, rulers printed beyond reserves. Predictable result: hyperinflation. Under the Yuan dynasty, unbacked printing made the currency worthless and triggered chaos. Marco Polo was astonished. He wrote the Khan could make wealth from mulberry bark. European readers found it unbelievable. Meanwhile, in Europe, Venice and Florence developed credit and double-entry bookkeeping, tools that would later support banking and paper finance. As nation-states emerged, they sought stable national currencies to foster growth, the gold standard. In 1717, Isaac Newton, as master of the mint, set a fixed price for gold relative to silver, a move that set Britain on a de facto gold standard. By 1816, Britain formally adopted a gold standard. Paper notes were convertible into a fixed amount of gold. Every paper note had to be backed by gold in vaults, a powerful check on government money printing. Fixed exchange rates facilitated trade and investment, fueling the first wave of globalization. But the gold standard was a rigid and demanding master. It forced governments to prioritize currency stability even above domestic concerns like employment. World War I's financial demands were incompatible with gold. Nations suspended convertibility and printed money to pay for war. The golden anchor had been slipped. After the wars, leaders sought a more flexible global order. Bretton Woods. In July of 1944, delegates from 44 Allied nations gathered in Bretton Woods to design a new monetary order. They created a hybrid. The US dollar remained convertible to gold at $35 per ounce. Other currencies were pegged to the dollar. The United States held the lion's share of world gold reserves, the anchor of the system. For a while, the system worked, a golden age of growth and stability. Robert Triffin warned of a fatal flaw. The world needed more dollars to finance trade, but more dollars held abroad undermined the promise to convert them into gold. The costs of war and domestic spending led to more dollars than gold reserves could support. On August 15, 1971, President Nixon suspended gold convertibility, the Nixon shock. Bretton Woods collapsed. Currencies began to float, and we entered an era of pure fiat money, currency backed by trust in the issuing government. From then on, money became more clearly an artifact of policy and belief than metal. The journey began not with complex code, but with a simple piece of plastic: the credit card, introduced in the 1950s. It allowed consumers to make purchases on credit, with transactions settled electronically between merchant, bank, and card company. The development of networked computing accelerated the dematerialization of money. The establishment of SWIFT in 1973 created a secure messaging network, the backbone of international finance. The internet brought digital money into consumers' hands. E-commerce demanded secure online payments. In 1998, PayPal pioneered peer-to-peer payments. Anyone with an email could send money almost instantly. Banks built systems like ATMs and interbank rails. Money became information moving on rails built by institutions. By the 21st century, cash usage declined in many developed countries as people embraced debit, credit, and mobile wallets. This digital money was still fundamentally tied to fiat and bank rails, until a new technology threatened to build different rails. From the shadows emerged a technology that proposed money as code. In the autumn of 2008, as the global financial system convulsed, a white paper was posted to a cryptography mailing list. Authored by Satoshi Nakamoto, it proposed a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, a purely digital currency, decentralized and secured by cryptography, recorded on a public ledger called a blockchain. In January 2009, Bitcoin's Genesis block was mined. Bitcoin solved double spending without a central authority via an immutable, distributed ledger. For years, Bitcoin was an obscure curiosity for cypherpunks. Then ideas spread and communities formed. In 2015, Ethereum launched smart contracts, turning blockchain into a decentralized global computer. Decentralized finance replicated lending and trading without intermediaries. NFTs tokenized unique digital assets. By 2025, crypto became a multi-trillion-dollar asset class marked by dramatic booms and busts. Stablecoins tried to bridge crypto and fiat. Regulators and central banks took notice. The battle for the future of money had begun. Section 10. The Crossroads of Trust. Where do we go from here? Our long journey from Mesopotamian clay to cryptographic code reveals a powerful, recurring theme. Money is a story about trust. We trusted the Lydian king's stamp. We trusted the Bank of England to redeem notes for gold. For 50 years, we trusted governments to manage fiat. Each system rises on belief and falls when that belief erodes. In 2025, we stand at a dramatic crossroads of trust. Will we embrace decentralized cryptocurrencies or state-controlled CBDCs, or a hybrid? CBDCs offer efficiency and inclusion, but raise questions about privacy and programmable controls, funds that can be blocked or expire. Cryptocurrencies promise transparency and resistance to censorship, yet face volatility, complexity, hacks, and regulatory pushback. Will AI begin managing monetary policy, creating another layer of non-human trust? We face a fundamental choice about the architecture of money. This is not just a history lesson, it's a map of our financial future. If you want to follow where money is headed next, hit subscribe, ring bell, and stay tuned.